Mike Tyson versus Ike Ibeabuchi. Shout out to the person who requested this fantasy matchup right here. For those of you who don't know, Ike Ibeabuchi was a heavyweight contender from Nigeria, based in the States, but born and raised in Nigeria. And he was around in the 90s, early 2000s. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, I was following his career at the time, but it was a very, very long time ago. But it was the late 90s, early 2000s when Ibeabuchi was around. He obviously famously ended the unbeaten run of David Tua. He knocked out Chris Bird, the future heavyweight champion. And he had a few other decent wins on his resume. To me, Ibeabuchi was the most talented African heavyweight I've ever seen. He was around 6'2". He was an absolute brick house of a man. Tremendous physique. Physically, he reminded me of a cross between Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. He was naturally bigger than Holyfield, but in terms of his body type, it was like a cross between Tyson and Holyfield, but bigger than both of them. The same kind of height as Holyfield, but naturally broader shoulders and more powerful and whatnot. But he had that Mike Tyson style, big neck. Not as big a neck as Tyson, but still thick neck and that muscularity that Tyson had. And the explosiveness. I mean, he wasn't as explosive as Tyson, but was more explosive than Holyfield, more powerful. Him against Tyson would have been a tremendous fight. And I remember Mike Tyson saying this at the time. I used to buy all the magazines back then. KO Magazine, Ring Magazine, Boxing Illustrated, Sports Illustrated, Boxing Monthly, Boxing News, you name it. I used to buy all the boxing publications because obviously this was before the days of the internet. And I remember Mike Tyson saying, when he was interviewed about the current up-and-coming heavyweights, David Tua, Ibeabuchi, and Galata, and Shannon Briggs, all these guys were up-and-coming at the time. And Mike Tyson said the only up-and-coming heavyweight that he was worried about was Ibeabuchi. Very interesting. And I think he had good reason to be worried about Ibeabuchi, because Ibeabuchi had a great chin, as we saw in the Tua fight. He had very good stamina. He still, as far as I know, holds the world record for most punches thrown by a heavyweight in a 12-round fight. And that was in the David Tua fight. He proved he had a great engine, great chin. He was a great puncher. He could box. He showed that in the Tua fight. He could bang on the inside and he could box. He could get up on his toe and box and pop a jab and throw combinations. Very good combination puncher. Good hand speed for a guy of his size. Good finishing ability, as we saw against Chris Bird. He was a very talented fighter. And I don't see it being an easy fight for Tyson. And this is where it gets controversial, as Dwight likes to say. I would actually pick Ibeabuchi to beat Tyson, because I think he'd be able to take Tyson's power. He was quite good as well at slipping and sliding and not taking shots full flush, if you look at the Tua fight. And unlike Tyson, he would work for 3 minutes of a round. Obviously, he'd have to overcome the spectacular Mike Tyson start to a fight, because Tyson would just come out and put everything on you, and Tyson definitely had the speed advantage. But Ibeabuchi was so strong. He was so good on the inside and on the outside. He was so aggressive. He had a lot of heart. He was very mentally tough. I think he would have taken Tyson into deep waters and drowned him. Tyson is a better fighter overall than David Tua, but he didn't have Tua's work rate. He didn't have Tua's ability to carry his power late into fights. And Tyson relied heavily on resting in clinches, even in his prime. Ibeabuchi wouldn't allow him to do that. He'd push Tyson off. He'd basically do what Holyfield did to Tyson in their first fight. But because he's bigger and stronger than Holyfield, I think he'd be able to pull off those tactics successfully against the prime Tyson. Again, this is very controversial. Most people are going to disagree, but this is just how I see it. If that fight had happened with the two of those guys in their primes, I would have been taking Ibeabuchi to stop Mike Tyson in about, I reckon, 9 rounds, 8-9 rounds. And again, styles make fights. I'm not saying Ibeabuchi is invincible. There's plenty of guys I would pick to beat Ibeabuchi throughout the course of boxing history. But I just feel style-wise, Ibeabuchi had what it takes. He had the size, he had the chin, he had the work rate, he had the power, he had the heart, he had the stamina, the versatility, I think, to beat a prime Mike Tyson. But obviously we'll never know. Ibeabuchi was one of the saddest examples of wasted talent that we've ever seen in the heavyweight division. He was in prison for, I think, assault and rape or something like that. And I believe he was deported shortly after. He came out of prison, I think, just a couple years ago. It just shows you how long ago it was. Obviously, he hasn't resumed his boxing career. Too old, too washed up. And yeah, he was very talented in my opinion. And we'll never know how good he was. This is all theoretical, obviously, but just weighing in both fighters up, I would have picked Ibeabuchi to spring the upset and beat a prime Mike Tyson. So yeah, plenty of thumbs down on this video, I'm sure, because the Tyson fanboys are very, very numerous, especially on the internet. And I love Tyson, man, as a fighter. I think Tyson was the most exciting heavyweight of all time, probably the most exciting fighter of all time, certainly one of them, but definitely the most exciting heavyweight of all time, hands down. I loved watching Tyson when I was young, man. He was just always value for money when Tyson was fighting. But styles make fights, and I just see Ibeabuchi having the style to deal with him. So drop your comments below. Let me know how you feel. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.